Hello everybody, Virtual SG here, and today I'm going to draw a horse. Okay, so a horse has kind of a barrel-shaped body, and horses have like a big bum like this, and they've got four legs that bend funny, and horse has sort of a triangle-shaped head, and I think these legs are wrong. Don't they bend the other way? Yeah, they bend the other way, so how does that work? It looks like I don't really know how to draw a horse. So I guess it's time to study horses, or more importantly, or a different way of saying it, is to just say that I'm going to draw horses. What I'm trying to get at here is that studying and drawing are the same thing. If you watch this video by Sam Yang about developing your own style.
So a really good analogy that I like to use for this is your professor gives you an article and you have to summarize that article. Everyone's going to have a different way of summarizing that same article. If you don't read that article, if you don't understand it.
And then follow that with this video by Salem Shanouha about what highly skilled illustration actually is.
Now, when I first started drawing and learning this method, it completely baffled me that this is what drawing is. I thought it was more of a free-form artistic expression, rather than a mathematical calculation. So does this mean this is how people draw? Always calculating angles and vertical and horizontal lines? Well, yes, but actually no.
You will either be thoroughly inspired or utterly dejected by the notion of becoming a highly skilled illustrator. So let's talk about rendering for a second, or painting, or basically just plain advanced illustration skills. I don't want to just make cartoons. I want to render beautiful dimensional art. Who doesn't, right? Here is an attempt to do that. I figured I would just study this portrait Sam did, and I would learn a thing or two and it would be fun. The problem is that what you are seeing here is not a very careful study. Of course it's time-lapsed, so you're seeing about 3 hours of work in just a few seconds. But trust me, this particular study session was mostly just wasted time. Why? Because as you can see by the results, it was rushed. A desperate attempt to do as little work as possible and somehow magically have Sam's years of experience downloaded into my brain. So of course it doesn't work that way. But instead of being dejected, I took inspiration from my own failure and had another go at it. But this time not wanting to be at Sam's skill level. No, this time wanting only to draw. Now I'm truly studying this image, one tiny line at a time. I'm not studying Sam anymore. I'm learning to learn how to study. Yes, it sounds bonkers, but it's truth. So Clip Studio Paint has a capture function, but it doesn't accurately record everything, and you're kind of missing the key to this exercise. I'm actually moving the drawing back and forth over Sam's drawing to check whether or not I've placed each line correctly. One line at a time. Here's another time I employed this method. I think you can see it a little better here. I'm basically tracing the image, but I don't draw a single line on top of the image. I'm drawing next to the image and then moving the drawing back to check my accuracy. The trick is to match the image, to make it look like I traced it. Not for the sake of copying the image, though, but for the sake of learning to draw what I see with my own eyes. Every time I nail a line, even if it takes 5 or 6 attempts, I become more and more confident. And when I do get one on the first try, which starts to happen over and over, it's like a fun game. Now, the time-lapse makes this look exciting, but the reality is that it's exceedingly tedious. Or is it satisfyingly peaceful?
Do you get frustrated when a single line is not in the correct place, even though the rest of the drawing looks
single
perfect?
line. What? Come on.
So that happens to me a lot.
I get so frustrated. I don't usually get that frustrated while drawing. It's meditation. I'm having fun. If there's a challenge, if I'm dealing with a problem, it's actually kind of fun.
I'm not trying to tell you you should study this way. That's why I'm just leaving everything time-lapsed. I'm not going to show you how you should study. I'm just saying I'm learning to get in the zone and do what I have to do. For example, what I'm doing is not that different from using the old grid method, where you put a grid over your subject and map each quadrant to a new grid, thereby breaking the process down into little pieces that add up to a whole. This method is no shortcut to success either. It does take a lot of effort until you gain a lot of experience. When you do develop your observation skills, this grid method can be used as a shortcut, but you have to build your skill set and then use shortcuts. You don't find magic shortcuts that build skill. So this drawing of mine, this study of Sam's work, is practically a tracing, except I didn't trace a single line. I drew every line while it was over here, and then checked it, and check and redraw and check and redraw and check and redraw. And as I said, often enough I would nail it on the first try, and that's when I know my observation skills were improving. Now, as for this horse, what I'm doing here is applying all this skill building to a careful study of a photo that is not on screen right now, but instead of using any kind of mapping technique, I'm going by my gut. And because I've practiced my observation skills, the results are quite satisfactory. I'm getting really good at looking at something and then rendering that thing out of thin air, so to speak, which in turn builds up my visual library, and on and on and on like that. And continuing with this attitude and enough experience behind me, my rendering and painting skills will also fall in line, and I'll be as good as any other professional illustrator, and then I'll get invited to all the cool parties and live happily ever after. Matter of fact, I felt like I was on a roll, and I threw this together in about 20 minutes, and I'm quite impressed with myself. It looks like this whole enjoy the study process mindset is paying off. Imagine that.